Coca-Cola had cocaine in them? Did you know that Coca-Cola, one of the most popular soft drinks in the world, used to have cocaine in it? Yes, you heard that right. And to make matters even more interesting, it was so popular back in the day that even the Pope used to drink it. Now, imagine the scene. The Pope, dressed in his finest robes, sipping on a cold, refreshing bottle of Coca-Cola with cocaine in it. Maybe that's why he was always so full of energy and ready to bless the masses. But let's not forget that times have changed, and Coca-Cola is now a completely cocaine-free beverage. So, if you're looking for a pick-me-up, you'll have to settle for the caffeine instead. And if you see the Pope these days, chances are he's sipping on something a bit more holy. You weigh less under the moonlight? Have you ever wanted to lose weight without any effort? Well, I've got some good news for you. When the moon is directly overhead, you actually weigh slightly less. That's right, you don't have to give up your favorite foods or hit the gym, just wait for the moon to align and voila, instant weight loss. Now, I'm not saying you should start planning your meals around the lunar calendar or anything, but it's a fun fact to keep in mind. So, next time someone tells you that you're looking a little heavy, just blame it on the moon's position. Did you know his hiccups lasted for 69 years? Don't believe me? Meet Charles Osborne, who started hiccuping in 1922 and didn't stop until 1990. It's not like Charles was trying to break a record or anything. In fact, his epic hiccup marathon started while he was just going about his daily business of weighing a hog before slaughter. And from that moment on, his hiccups just never stopped. At the beginning of his ordeal, Charles hiccuped an astonishing 40 times a minute. That's right, every single minute, 40 hiccups. And even though the frequency of his hiccups slowed down to 20 per minute in his later years, that's still a lot of hiccups. After almost 7 decades of hiccuping, Charles finally found some relief in 1990. Unfortunately, he passed away the following year, leaving behind a hiccup-free legacy of just 1 year. So, the next time you're dealing with a case of hiccups, just be grateful it's not a marathon like Charles Osborne's. Hey, did you know that Meteor almost struck on us? Yeah, it was like a massive firework display over the Bering Sea in 2018. It was as strong as 10 atomic bombs, but don't worry, you didn't miss the apocalypse. This rock was 10 meters in diameter and weighed a whopping 1,400 tons. When it exploded, it had an impact energy of 173 kilotons of TNT. That's like 10 times the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. Imagine that! It's a good thing it wasn't any closer, or we might have been in trouble. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that something that powerful could explode in our atmosphere and nobody even noticed. But hey, let's not dwell on the end of the world just yet. Instead, let's be glad that we can still enjoy life on Earth even if it's not quite as exciting as a meteor explosion. Did you know that an ostrich's eye is actually bigger than its brain? That's right, this flightless bird has the biggest peepers of any land animal in the world, but unfortunately, not the biggest brain. I mean, just imagine if our eyes were bigger than our brains. We'd all be walking around with giant googly eyes, bumping into walls and forgetting our own names. But for ostriches, it's no big deal. They may not be the brightest bulbs in the animal kingdom, but they still manage to survive and thrive in their own unique way. So let's give it up for the ostrich, with their huge eyes and tiny brains. They may not be geniuses, but they sure know how to rock a fabulous set of peepers. Did you know that elephants are the only animal on the planet that can't jump? That's right, these gentle giants may be able to move their massive bodies with grace and power, but they just can't seem to get airborne. Imagine if elephants could jump, though. It would be a hilarious sight to see them bounding through the savannah like a kangaroo. Or maybe they could compete in the high jump at the Olympics. I'm sure they'd win every time with those long trunks as an advantage. But, alas, it's just not in their nature to jump. Instead, elephants use their incredible strength and size to push through obstacles and climb over things when necessary. Who needs to jump when you're already the biggest and strongest animal around? So, next time you see an elephant, just appreciate them for who they are, the only animal that can't jump, but still manages to be one of the coolest creatures on the planet. Hey, did you know that octopuses have 3 hearts? That's right, they're like the superheroes of the ocean. With 3 hearts pumping blood throughout their body, these 8-armed creatures are basically unstoppable. It's like having a backup heart in case one gets tired or decides to take a nap. Imagine if we had 3 hearts, we could run marathons without getting tired, lift weights like it's no big deal, and maybe even survive a heart attack. But unfortunately, us humans are stuck with just one lonely heart. So, next time you see an octopus, give them a little extra respect for their impressive cardiovascular system. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be able to genetically engineer ourselves to have 3 hearts too. I mean, if it works for the octopuses, why not for us? Did you know that it's impossible to hum while holding your nose? Go ahead, try it. When you hum, the sound vibrations travel from your vocal cords through your nose and mouth, creating the sound you hear. However, when you hold your nose, the air is trapped, preventing the vibrations from reaching their destination. So, the next time you find yourself with a blocked nose, try humming without holding it and see if you can still carry a tune. It's a small but interesting fact that might come in handy at your next trivia night.
Did you know that the apple that you are eating might be a year old? Attention all apple lovers, brace yourselves for a juicy revelation. You know those shiny, crunchy apples that you pick up from the grocery store? Well, guess what? They're not as fresh as you might think. In fact, they've been through more storage than your winter sweaters. These apples are picked, waxed, hot air dried, and then sent to cold storage for 6 to 12 months before they finally hit the shelves. That's longer than some of my past relationships, and certainly more complicated. But before you toss your apple l'americano, remember that these fruits are still a great source of nutrition, so don't be afraid to sink your teeth into them. So, the next time you take a bite of an apple, just remember that it's been through more storage than your ex's old belongings in your garage.
Atomic bomb almost dropped on the US? Imagine a whole state just disappearing off the map because of a clumsy pilot. It's a good thing that the critical part of the bomb was still on the plane, otherwise, we might not even be here to tell this story. Can you imagine the headlines if that had happened? South Carolina disappears in atomic blast, nation in shock. Or, even worse, pilot drops atomic bomb on South Carolina, whoops. I bet the pilot was kicking himself for the rest of his life after that. I mean, can you imagine having that on your conscience? Oops, sorry about that, guys. I didn't mean to nuke your entire state. It's the ultimate my bad moment, for sure. But seriously, let's all take a moment to be grateful that this disaster was averted. Who knows what kind of world we'd be living in if things had gone differently. Let's just be glad that South Carolina is still on the map, for now, at least. Did you know that the American flag was made by a middle schooler? Once upon a time in junior high school, Bob Heft created a 50-star U.S. flag for a class project. But little did he know, he was about to change the history of the U.S. flag forever. However, his teacher wasn't so impressed and gave him a B- for his work. Talk about a tough crowd. But Bob was determined to see his design become a reality, and he was convinced that 2 more states would be added to the Union. So, he wrote 21 letters to his congressman and called the White House 18 times to pitch his design. That's some serious dedication right there. Finally, after a long and tedious process, President Eisenhower called to tell Bob that his design had been chosen to be the new U.S. flag. Bob's reaction? He was probably like, "I told you so." The new design was made official on July 4, 1960, and the rest is history.
60 Seconds University.